Oh, that's a work of art. Yeah, you nailed the nose. You just
Yeah,
nailed
that
it. It's
was-
very Father Mike de
hey, that's not
Bergerac.
too bad. That's
It's
like
actually not
the
terrible.
eyeballs are right in the right spot.
Hey, man, I'm not saying a word. My stick figures are circles. Okay, let's put,
I'm pretty proud.
let's put
This is
this
going on
way.
the fridge. This is going on the fridge.
Welcome, everybody, to the mix. This week's episode. I'm so excited. This is epic. We've been waiting for this. We're gonna have. I can't talk today. We're gonna have one of my oldest friends, a good friend. I would say he needs no introduction. Why do people always do that? Why do they say, "Oh, they need no introduction," and then they introduce the person? It's so stupid. Please join me in welcoming from Steubenville Stages, from Ascension Presents, from blogs and podcasts and video series all over the world, Father Mike Schmitz! Ah!
Thank you. Yeah, the crowd was wild. The epic sode from my kitchen. Well, it's a kind of a kitchen, dining room, living room. It's all in one. It's all good. It's all good.
Padre, how are you?
Oh man, Mark, it's awesome, phenomenal, phenomenal. Life,
Really?
it's yeah. No,
You
that
know we're in
is
the middle of a pandemic, right? Like it's
that's been my go to answer because it's actually really accurate.
Mhm.
And also, I'm kind of tired of being like, oh, it's decent, oh, it's good, things like that. Because I'm like, no, actually, if I stopped and looked at like life, looked at my life, and I was like, no, it's I'm just so blessed. It's a man. Right. I'm looking out. There's a window right here. That's our campus.
Mhm.
Right outside this window, our students are back, and they're in
Oh wow.
quarantine and all this kind of stuff. It's all a mess, but it's just like
Mhm.
no, but we're here and we're just doing our best. And so how can we not be doing phenomenally? That's the thing. It's just like that's been.
Well,
So I want to say, I was in eighth grade. I had a health teacher, Mr. Licio, and he said from now on he was going to start saying when people asked him how he was, unbelievable was going to be his answer every time. And he's like, because he was tired of being like, well, it's, because everyone wants you to say like what's been going wrong. He's like,
mhm.
unbelievable, because it's always true. It's either unbelievably great, unbelievably bad, or unbelievably just average. And I thought, I like that, but I like phenomenal. So that's
I
enough.
like that. Hey, so do you remember the first time we met? Do you remember where it
Yes,
was? Where
yeah.
was it?
It was in Mount St. Mary's in Emmitsburg, Maryland.
No, you were
What?
wrong.
Am I
No.
really?
Yeah, you're wrong. Oh, this is the
When was it?
best. I guess it was more meaningful when our friendship began for me. I was doing a Steubenville conference at St. Thomas up in
Yeah,
Minnesota.
yeah.
I was doing that, and I was in the green room. So, okay, so for those of you who go to conferences and stuff, when you see the speaking team and they just kind of like get rushed out to go to some unnecessary meeting, so unnecessary. So it takes off these stupid meetings. And there's this thing called a green room where you kind of hang out backstage and you meet, and there's usually like bottles of water and snacks and stuff. So Father Mike was not on the team, right? And I think he just came to listen to confessions and hear confessions or something. So I'm sitting there, and the team had mostly emptied out. I'm sitting there, and I look over, and there's just this rando priest, and he's just like eating. I mean, just eating food, and I'm thinking to myself, like, dude, like you're totally crashing and loitering and stealing all this food.
Is that true?
That was totally you. And I'm like, I can't believe this. Like, leave some food for us.
No way. Are you? Oh my gosh, that's so
I
embarrassing. I
know,
did not
I know.
realize.
No, it's all good. I had no idea who you were. I didn't know. So, and then like, I was like a couple years later, right, I'm speaking at this event together. He's like, so good to meet you. And I'm like, he has no idea. He stole all my pretzels. That's okay. It's okay.
I That's crazy. I remember that conference because that conference, I don't know if I think that was my first conference I'd ever gone to. And
Mm-hmm.
secondly, I think they had at the last minute they said, "Hey, would you do the homily on Saturday?"
Well, this
And
must have been before the homily because
because you
I
didn't.
hadn't seen you earn those pretzels yet. That's good.
Wow, no, I that's really embarrassing. I did not realize that.
Oh no,
Oh,
it's good. That was the whole
but there's
point,
so
was to
many things
embarrass you.
like that where you look back and like, oh my gosh, I had no clue. I had no clue. They might have said like, oh yeah, go back in that room and just there's probably some snacks because I wouldn't walk into a room and just start eating food, would I? Is that who I
Is
am?
that who I am? Is that my essence? Hey, so a couple things I wanted to do today. I wanted to give teens out there in Life Teen Land and parishes and their youth ministers the chance to get to know Father Mike, because I think the danger is when people see people on a stage all the time, on video all the time, you kind of get a thing in your head. They must be like this, or they kind of have like a star status. And knowing you as well as I do, I know you like me, you're like an introvert. You don't look at
Hmm.
like, oh, like, I'm a star. Let me tell you. But you have a cool story, and I've enjoyed getting to know you over the years. So what I thought we could do is a couple things. First, I want to run through a lightning round of
Yep.
questions. I'm just going to
Okay.
randomly pull questions out. You have to come up with just the first answer that comes to mind. No perfect answer. There are wrong answers.
There
So
are
we do
wrong
that.
answers, but no perfect answers.
Exactly. Then I want to ask you. Then we're going to play a little game after that, and then following that, I want to ask you a couple more questions before you can wrap it up in prayer. Are you down with that?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. I appreciate you shooting this in front of your bookcase to make everybody see how
Yeah.
smart you are.
Yeah, and this is like all my books. Just kidding. Actually, one of the things is getting enough bookcases. I have the space up here. There's not a lot of space. Like my living quarters are very
Mm-hmm.
tiny, which is great for minimalist living, but not great when it comes to where do you keep your books. So,
Have you read all those
anyways,
books? Be honest.
there are a couple. The ones that I haven't read, I have still in the cellophane.
Oh,
I haven't wrapped still, so that I can remind myself when someone asks, "Hey, have you read all those?" Like, see those ones with plastic still on them? I have not read those.
okay. Good to know. Thank you for your honesty. Okay. Are you ready for the lightning round?
I think so.
Okay. Here we go.
Is anyone ever really ready for lightning?
Okay. Number one. Ooh, this is a good one. Who's your favorite superhero and why?
Oh my gosh. Okay, that's not possible. Okay, so here's where I have to go. The lightning, you said. So when I was a kid, Robin, because he was a kid too. So that was like the number one thing. But only because you could grow up to be Batman, essentially, ultimately. And so Batman would probably be there. But I can't say Batman without saying Superman because I mean they're the two. They're my guys. Also,
So
I
you
had
refuse to
to.
pick one.
Well, I mean, kind of, but I also named three that are really great. And if you were to say you have to be this one for the rest of your life, I'd say okay.
I'm down with it. Okay. Did you play any sports in high school?
I did.
What sports?
Just the lightning round. Yes,
Women's
the answer.
badminton. I'm just kidding.
So I swam competitively ever since I was 6 years old, and
Hey, me
then
too.
did you really? What was
Oh
your
my
stroke?
gosh. Oh, I was the sprinter, freestyle.
Oh, nice. The 50s and hundreds. I was
Mm-hmm.
a backstroker and butterfly. So
Butterfly is really hard for
so
those of you
so,
that
but
do not know how to swim. Yeah.
but butterfly also gets the best pictures.
Hmm.
When you're coming out the water like this and you get to have
Totally
your
does.
shoulders kind of right there in the thing. The worst is the freestyle because you always get like this mouth out of the water and it's just this like
Oh yeah.
gasping for breath. It's never really that actually photogenic. So I swam in high school. I ran cross country. I had to play all these sports when I was a kid. I played the baseball, the football, the hockey, and then
Hmm.
pretty quickly became obvious that I am not coordinated when it comes to hand eye, foot eye, any kind of thing. If you just say, okay, swim down there, swim back, run around this oval, like I could do that. So I ran cross country, I swam, and then I ran track and field. I was a sprinter, so the cross country was more like just for fun.
Very cool. And that was up in Minnesota. That's where you're from, right?
Yep.
You didn't fall in any lakes or anything. That's good.
Yeah, I mean okay, yeah, absolutely fall in the lakes, fall in the river. If you're walking on the river and it's icy, walking in the lake, it's icy. You can fall in
What is
occasionally.
this ice and snow you speak of? I live on the surface of the sun, dude. Okay.
Honestly.
Best subject in high school.
Oh man, English literature.
Okay. You weren't a math and science guy.
No, I have. Have you heard of the growth/fixed mindset by Carol S. Dweck?
Of course, like who hasn't?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So this book by called
But
Mindset.
in case the teens watching are as familiar with it as you and I, why don't you fill me in?
Let me explain it. So Carol S. Dweck is a professor out of Columbia, and she talks about. She has a book called Mindset, and she says that we can either have a growth mindset or a fixed mindset. And we typically have them about a number of different areas of our lives. So a fixed mindset is I'm good at blank or I'm bad at blank. So I fell into the fixed mindset of I'm bad at math when I was in second or third grade, and we took speed tests on like addition, subtraction, whatever. And I had a cousin in my class, and he was awesome. He was the fastest one in the class, the speed test, and I wasn't bad. But I wasn't him. I wasn't as fast as him.
Right.
So from that moment, I got in my head, well, I'm just bad at math. And I wasn't bad at math. I just wasn't as fast as my cousin. But when it came to spelling, I did well. And so I was like, oh, I'm bad at math, good at spelling. And that was my fixed mindset. So now I've tried to adopt a growth mindset, which is I might currently struggle with, but if I work at it, I can improve. So in high school, I saw myself fixed mindset, bad at math. Saw myself fixed mindset, good at words.
That's actually how I was going to explain that, but I guess we'll go with your definition. That's cool. Hey, have you ever had a nickname? If so, what was it?
Oh man, I always wanted a nickname when I was a kid. I wanted my nickname to be. I remember telling when I read the book The Outsiders. If you remember that book, The
Uh-huh.
Outsiders,
Oh yeah.
and I remember announcing to my family that they could start calling me Pony Boy whenever they wanted to. I genuinely, I
You're
legit,
such a dork,
I
though.
legit, I was like, you guys can call me Pony Boy if you want. Even Soda Pop, that's fine too. Like we're not gonna call you that, moron. Like, and so
How about we call you moron? How about that?
how
How
we
about
call
call
you
you
moron from now
Dorcas?
on?
At least Dorcas is from
Um,
the Bible.
I had no nickname until a jukebox when I was a sophomore in high school. The seniors on the track team called me jukebox because I was always singing a song, and like, hey jukebox, sing us a song. And so I'm like, okay. So I'd sing songs, but then when I got to college, um, that's when my family started calling me Mikey. They never called me Mikey until I went off to college. And then when I was in college, someone started calling me Schmikey. It's like Schmitz and Mikey. And then when I became a priest, my nickname is, well, I guess for some people, like my mom will sometimes call me FM, and some people call me Fum, like FM, Fum. And actually, someone actually made me this phone case with FM
Nice.
monogrammed on it
Hey, man,
because,
that brings up a question.
yeah,
So when you go home, do they call you Mikey, Mike, or Father Mike, or
it all
Father?
depends. It all depends
Your
who it
siblings
is.
and everybody.
Yep. So it depends on my sibling. So I have a
Huh.
sister who will call me Father Michael, and her husband will always call me Father Mike, and her kids will call me Uncle Father Mike. Um, but then I have other siblings who just call me Mikey. That's the go-to pretty much, Mikey. My mom, if she's around, if people are around, she'll call me FM or Father Mike. Just if people are around, but otherwise she'll just call me Michael or Mike.
I'm
So, yeah.
changing your name in my phone to Jukebox the minute we're done with this thing. It's
Jukebox. Well,
happening.
so I have a brother who's in the military, and he was like, "I'm not going to call him Father Mike. Like he doesn't call me Sergeant Schmitz. I'm not going to." I'm like, okay, buddy.
All right, next question. When was your first kiss?
Uh, Goodness gracious. Oh
Please
my
don't say
gosh, I know
yesterday.
this. I know this question. I know the answer to this question. I can't think. I think I was probably 16, and I think that it had something to do with a movie. Yes, it was. Okay, okay, here we go. Yeah, went to the movie. Young Einstein was the movie, and
Young Einstein?
yeah, remember this movie at all?
Yeah.
Yeah, so sat through it, holding her hand, like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. And I remember before the lights went up, I remember leaning over and being like, this is my last chance, this is the last shot, like, mwah, kind of a thing. And then stood up and like, oh my gosh, okay, oh brother, here we go. And yeah,
I love
wow,
every part of that story.
I completely forgot about that memory. Thank you, Mark, for bringing that memory back to
Hey,
my memory.
thank you for sharing it with us. Hey, what's your favorite fast food chain?
Okay, this is, well, does Chipotle count as fast food?
I think for our purposes here, sure.
So I
Oh,
wouldn't say
let me ask the judges. Will we allow it? Yeah, we'll allow it.
so not Chipotle, but no, I like Qdoba. Qdoba's a good go-to, which
Hmm.
is a lot like Chipotle, but closer to my house. But I recognize, and this is so kind of embarrassing, is if I'm in a pinch, I actually kind of like McDonald's.
Do you know? And that's when you thought we met. Was at the event at the
Yeah.
seminary,
Yes.
and it was snow on the ground,
Yep.
and I was walking. So they had Father Mike and I in a hotel, and I didn't have a car, and I don't think you had a car. I can't
Mm-mm.
remember.
Mm-mm.
But there was nothing to eat. What happens at these events is if some priest sneaks into the green room and steals all your food,
Then you don't
and
have
there's
any
nothing
food
there to eat. I'm
left.
just kidding. No, so we had eaten, but we'd eaten like before the night session. So it was 9 or 10 o'clock, and we were in the hotel. We were
Yeah.
starving. And I remember I went the only place to go to was a McDonald's, and it was about a half mile away through the snow, and it was
It was cold
zero
out.
outside. And I don't even own a heavy jacket. So I remember I'm walking, and I remember you came out, and you're like, "What are you doing?" Like, cause he's from Minnesota. I mean, he's got all the gear.
I was ready
I'm
to
I'm
go.
I'm like this. He's just like, "You're gonna die, dude."
It was warmer there than it was where I came from. So yeah,
What makes you laugh the most?
funny things.
I give up.
Okay, so if you, what is something that like gets me? Okay, I kind of really I like people are awesome videos. People are awesome
Mhm.
videos are great. I really also like fail videos. Um, they're just they can be really funny. There are some Twitter. Oh, also there are some Twitter handles that have like there's one called Hold My Ale, like hold my beer while I do this thing,
Mhm.
and it's just people getting into themselves into predicaments, and I just like, oh my gosh, I'll laugh out. I will belly laugh regularly to those, um, and hopefully I don't ever know any of the people who are falling down in the videos.
What is Your most embarrassing moment as a priest.
So I was at the Steubenville conference in St. Paul,
Mhm.
and I went back into the green room, and I didn't even know it, but I wasn't supposed to be there, and I started eating a bunch of food, and there's a guy there, and he was kind of famous, kind of looked up to him, and the whole time he's sitting there looking at me, going, "What the heck is this priest doing back here?" That's probably one of the more embarrassing moments I've ever had as a priest.
No, seriously though, have you ever had like an embarrassing moment at mass or when administering the sacraments or, you know,
Yeah, no, I don't know. Okay, one, yeah, but okay. So we were on campus. That's where we have our masses. Our Sunday masses are on campus in a ballroom,
mhm.
and that doesn't matter. But that's where we were. And apparently, a bunch of years ago, maybe 6 years ago, it was the evening mass, and I was preaching, and there was this monstrous insect of some sort. I mean, it was like large,
Like
and
a
it was
pterodactyl.
crawling. It was crawling all over, like kind of like one of those like weird centipede type things that have like the furry legs and everything. And it was crawling all over the chasuble like the entire time, like around the back, kind of a thing. And I had no idea at all. And people are just like, and I was like, wow, just they're really into this kind of a thing. And apparently, I even have students who 2 weeks ago they reminded me. Remember that time we were in the ballroom and it was evening mass and you had that thing crawling all over you? Like we thought you knew about it and you were just like it was a prop or something. I'm like that. It was disgusting because when I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, what the heck? And B, the entire homily, I should have just sat down if I would have known. That was embarrassing. Yeah,
Okay, last couple. That's
sorry.
awesome. Um, Best religious book you've ever read.
Best ever. Um, can I offer more than one?
Nope.
Okay, Mere Christianity.
Oh, I was going to say that too.
I mean,
Yes.
just if you have to say one, that's the one to start.
Okay, I'll give you one more. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna say from a different perspective, uh, "He Leadeth Me" by Father
Who was
Walter
that?
Chizek. Father Walter
Okay.
Chizek about his time in the Soviet gulags, and it is incredible. It just is the most moving like memoir of his like spiritual autobiography of just being like ready to go on mission, going on mission, like spending his whole life like shaping this character and like I have this iron will. I'm gonna bring the gospel to the Soviet Union, and he gets captured and is in solitary confinement, gets broken, and just has nothing but just like okay, Lord, all I can give you is my brokenness. Now he gets put in the gulags for years. And it's there that he gets to like the Lord uses him in the most incredible ways in in his like profound weakness. And
Wow.
it's a true story. It's incredible. He leadeth me, and it's amazing.
I mean, who doesn't love a good story about gulags?
I
I
know.
can't.
I mean, that's,
The tale
that's
as old as time. Can't get enough gulag stories for this guy right here.
I'm surprised
I was
Disney
going to
haven't
say
gotten a hold of that
Dante's
yet.
Inferno. You read
Really?
Inferno?
So I had a class on Dante's Inferno for a January term
Hmm.
class, and after day two, I dropped. So I know I haven't read it.
I would say outside of Scripture and Mere Christianity, it's my favorite book of all time. Well, my
Wow.
favorite series of all time.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, last one. Well, list two pet peeves.
People chewing with their mouth open.
Oh, I hate that.
It is. It's not even. There's nothing else compares. Because it's just like I'm like, oh my goodness. And then people driving too slow in the left lane.
Ooh, okay. I got you on both of those. The first one though, the mouth open thing. I mean, I'm sitting there like, if I could incinerate you with my mind, if I could just like, what are you, a yak? Are you
Yeah,
eating out in the
mm,
wild? Are we on safari? What's going on right now?
I want to like say let's have a little lesson in etiquette. So my college roommate was my roommate all through college, was my best friend in high school, and then so we would that freshman year we'd get up and go to breakfast because that's what freshmen would do. They go to breakfast,
Yeah,
um,
that's what you care about.
and so it was just he and I at breakfast, and he would eat with his mouth open, and I would glare at him and I'd stare just like, and he's like, what? I'm like, could you please not eat with your mouth open? He's like, my nose is stuffed. I have to eat. And I should have been kinder. He's a great man, a great human being, but I struggled with that part of our friendship.
Fair enough. Okay, and we're gonna move on to the game portion. Are you ready?
I think so. Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I don't know actually. I'll do my best.
We're going to play a little game that I like to call Truth or Dare because that's what it's called.
I
So,
call it the same thing.
you are aware of how this game is played, obviously. I'm going to ask you a question, and you either have to tell me the truth, and if you prefer not to answer it because of embarrassment or because it'll get you in trouble with your bishop or whatever, uh, you don't have to answer it, but you'll have to fulfill a dare. Nothing too embarrassing. We're not looking to make a mockery out of you or the priesthood. Okay. You good? You down?
I'm ready. I think. I mean,
Okay.
as I'll ever be.
Who was your high school celebrity crush?
Oh, I think if I could think of, there was this movie. I worked as a camp counselor for many, many years, and we would show movies at night. And one of the movies we'd show to the campers was a movie called The Rocketeer. And in the movie The Rocketeer, there was this actress named Jennifer Connelly, and I just remember thinking, "Wow, she's just gorgeous." And so that's about as far as it ever went. But I think that if I could think of anybody,
You mean you guys
like,
didn't date?
and no, meaning like I never like had her picture up or anything like this. It was just like, oh, I think she's a very beautiful woman, and that was more or less the extent of my celebrity crush.
Right on. Okay. For me, it was Elizabeth Shue, the girl from
Oh
Karate
yeah,
Kid and
yeah.
Adventures Babysitting. And,
Oh, I
yeah,
might have to change my answer. She was like more like junior high. Junior high.
yeah. I never heard that same time when I went to see Karate Kid. I must have seen Karate Kid 47 times in the theater.
Yeah. So when Karate Kid 2 comes around, I'm like, wait. Hello,
It's not in
Daniel-san.
it.
Why are you not dating her still?
Dude, you don't go to Okinawa when you got Elizabeth. Anyway, next question.
True.
What was your most awkward date ever?
Okay. This one just like looms so large in my memory. So, okay, I went out with this girl because I thought she was attractive. That was as far as, this is all I knew about her. And so then basically, I just, for the teens who are watching this, there at some point, you should like the person and kind of know them more than just like, so here's my first date. Or only date, sorry, clarify.
Was this in high school?
This is in college. So I dated this
Okay.
girl for 3 years and then I broke up with her, sorry, honesty check, she broke up with me. And this is like one of my first dates after I got broken up with.
Okay.
So we go to a movie and we would go to dinner and I paid. Because I'm like, yeah, of course I'm going to pay. But I didn't realize I'd been dating someone for 3 years. I'm like, oh my gosh, you don't, if you dated someone regularly, you don't go out very much because it costs a lot. And
Right.
so I'm handing over, I'm like, wow, that was a lot of money for a meal. But okay, no problem. This is the first date. I'll do that. Of course, I'm going to be the guy. And then I'm thinking also, well, this is our first date. Maybe she'll pick up the movie. And so she's ahead of me in the line to the movie. And so I'm like, okay, she's just being nice. And she got up to the ticket thing. And then she went, go ahead. And I was like, oh, okay, I will. Because, of course, I want to be, a good date.
Chivalrous. You're a gentleman.
And
man.
yeah, chivalrous. Watched the movie. After we went for a walk, and even the conversation. This is how the conversation happened. But conversation happened both at dinner and in the walk. She would say about everything. She's like, "Oh, that's crazy." That was her response to everything. Ah, crazy. That's just crazy. And it wouldn't have to be crazy. It would just be something like, "Oh, look, I think that's the Big Dipper." Wow, crazy. Like, oh, this lake here is like a lot of students will sometimes swim off the beach here. They have roped off. Ah, crazy. And so I got to the point of I didn't know what to say after her crazy. So I started saying the exact same thing. She'd go, wow, crazy. And I'd say, insane. That's how it was. That was the rest of our date. It was just like her noting that things were crazy. And I'm like, yeah, insane. And so that's my crazy, insane date. And it was awkward because we didn't have anything other to say other than crazy. And then insane. So that was, I think, one of the more awkward ones.
Write that down, kids. Get to know people as friends before you ask them on a date.
Honestly, nothing to talk about.
What is your most embarrassing moment in life? Truth or dare?
I don't know if I feel entirely comfortable talking about that in front of all my friends at Life
I was hoping
Teen,
you'd say that.
all the teens in the parish.
I was hoping you'd say that. Okay. Do you have peanut butter handy, as I asked you to have?
Yeah,
case?
in fact, I do have some peanut butter handy.
Okay. I want you to eat as big a spoonful as you can.
Okay.
And once
That's the dare?
no,
I know
what's this in there?
that's called a snack. That's called supper.
Just a big honking, just shovel it. Like just a big
Okay.
old, yeah.
Whoa! I almost lost control of my peanut butter jar. How's that?
Yeah. That's good. That's good. Okay. Now
Okay, for
place it in your mouth.
perspective, this is my thumb. This is my peanut butter jar. Do I not get? Okay. Wow, this
It's
is
like
a
a
lot of peanut butter.
bison. Okay, ready? Put that in your mouth. Go ahead. And now you're going to recite the ABCs. You're going to sing them,
What's up?
please.
The phone.
Don't you?
No, I know my ABCs. Next time, won't you sing with me? That
Did
was
you ever
easier than I
notice
thought.
that the same ABC song is a song from Twinkle Twinkle Little Star? How there's no copyright infringement?
That was
Someone should get sued for that.
that was a
What's your? Are you crunchy? Are you crunchy? Or are you smooth guy? You're a smooth guy. Smooth.
I'm both.
Father Mike's all smooth.
I'm both because when I'm just like I need a snack, I need to put something on some celery. I usually put a little bit of crunchy. If I'm making some toast, smooth.
These are the deep, dark answers that the public.
That was
longs
way
for.
easier than I thought. I thought I wouldn't be able to speak.
I was kind of hoping to be more difficult than that. Yeah. Okay, next question. What was your most embarrassing moment in public speaking?
So it was my first time I ever gave a keynote at a Steubenville conference. And I got done with the talk, and I stepped off the stage, and Paul George is standing there. Mm-hmm. Paul George looks at, he's like, walks up, and he doesn't say good job, doesn't say like that was nice or whatever. He says, "Hey, have you ever read the book? It's a preaching book, a speaking book." Mm-hmm. And I was like, "Oh no." He's like, "You should." And I was like, "Wait, what does that mean? It was that bad that I really need work, or like that it was that good that you're like, oh, this will help you even more." And I had no idea how to take that. Just like, there's a book on speaking. You should read that. And I've asked him since. I was like, "Paul, do you remember this?" And he's like, "No, I don't remember. What was it, a bad talk?" And he can't tell me, or he won't tell me. So that was kind of embarrassing.
There was one time I was talking about the storm at sea, and the apostles lay down. It says in Matthew 14, it says they lay down and they prostrate themselves. They prostrate. They prostrate themselves. And for you teens listening, the word prostrate means you lay down on your knees and you worship, right? But instead of saying prostrate, I said prostate.
Yes.
Which, if you're over a 40 and you're a man, you should have that checked. But it's a body part. So if I said that, so all of a sudden the adults snickered. And I was like, well, I must have said that wrong, but I'm just going to keep going forward. I can't draw attention to it. And then I came across the passage again, and instead of saying prostate, I said castrate.
No way.
Which, if you don't know what that means, teens, don't look it up.
Wow.
I finished the talk, I walked off. I'm like, oh my God. I wish I could bilocate. I wanted to be anywhere else.
That is awesome. One of my best friends, his name's Nick Davidson. Nick once was giving me a talk, a theology of the body talk. And then he was talking about how, he talked to high schoolers, about how people are addicted to porn. And that for a lot of people, like their porn use goes back to early ages. And like they've been exposed to porn ever since they're like 6, 7, 8 years old. And afterwards, these high school girls come up to him and say, it's like, we really liked your talk. It was really funny. It was really this. But like, what's wrong with being exposed to corn? And he's like, what? Corn? He's like, yeah. You said that some people are addicted to corn and that they like have been exposed to corn ever since they were young. And he's like, no, I said porn, like pornography. And they were like, oh, that makes so much more sense. They had thought the entire time he's saying that, corn is a huge problem. That some people, they just can't get enough. They're addicted to corn. And this goes back to their early ages. And, it was great.
You're just going home. She's like, Mommy, I don't know what it was about, but we have to throw out the corn.
No.
Which sibling, because you have how many siblings? 5?
There are 5 siblings, 6 of us total.
Okay. So same with me. Okay. So which sibling is your least favorite?
I don't have one. So I can't say. I'm going to have to not only plead the fifth because I just can't answer that because there's no such answer. There's no answer in real life. So I have to take the dare.
I hope you would say that. Okay. Do you have a piece of paper? And maybe a pen or a paper plate?
I have a pen.
Anything?
I have a paper plate as well, yes.
Okay. I need you to hold the paper plate against your head.
Like this? Or this?
Up here. There you go. and I need you to draw a self-portrait on it without
Can
looking
I
at it.
see myself? Is that okay?
Yes, as you're
Okay,
looking at the
awesome.
camera.
Okay, self-portrait. Okay, golly.
Strong chin. It's a good nose. Are you an artist in real life?
Oh, not even close. I was every art project I ever did was awful because of the fact that I would lose so much patience. And wow, okay. And
This is good, jukebox. Keep going.
thanks.
Is that your neck?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then how's that? Is that close?
Hold that closer. Oh, that's a work of art. Yeah, you nailed the nose. You just
Yeah,
nailed it. It's very Father Mike de
hey, that's not
Bergerac.
too bad. That's
It's
like
actually not
the
terrible.
eyeballs are right in the right spot.
Hey, man, I'm not saying a word. My stick figures are circles. Okay,
I'm pretty proud.
let's put
This is
this
going
way.
on the fridge. This is going on the fridge. I'm happy with how this turned out.
Thanks for being a good sport. That was a heck of a portrait. Really impressive. Um,
Thanks.
so I'm going to ask you just a few questions, and I want you to be as raw as possible
Okay.
because, again, as I said earlier in the show, I think sometimes people see people on a stage or on a camera and they think, oh, their life must be perfect. Their life must be easy. Um, how's COVID been for you? How have you maintained your sanity? Like, what have you gone
Yeah.
to besides prayer?
Yeah, no, because that's been a huge thing. And in fact, I had thought at the very beginning of this whole thing, well, I thought it was going to be really short. I mean, even though people were saying it's not a blizzard, this is a whole season. Like not just like a hunker down for a weekend. This is going to be a long-term thing. So right away, my mindset shifted to like long-term. And then secondly, but I didn't know how long term, right? So then secondly, there was an element of, wow, I remember just having this recurring thought, I don't want to get to the end of this and have discovered that I wasted this time. It was such a unique opportunity to have space. And so I didn't want to waste it. I wanted to enter into prayer in a deeper way, and I wanted to enter into like study and trying to create certain things in a certain way. And I would say that a lot of those plans might have fallen short. They kind of fell to like reality, and reality looked a lot different than what I had anticipated it to be. So prayer was good, and in the sense that it's just consistent. I'm not running off. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just staying here. And then because of that, community was really good. So what we had here at Duluth is we had a bunch of I got called back from being in Israel. We were on a pilgrimage, and we landed, and 2.5 days later, we were on a flight back to the States. And so there were maybe 30 of us who got back to campus, and it was like, okay, this is our community. We've been traveling in 6 international airports in 5 days, so we probably should stick together, you know? And so we had that time of prayer. We had time of fellowship, and it was kind of like there was space to be with each other. And so really be with our missionaries. We have focused missionaries on campus, and to really be with our students without a lot of racing. And that was a challenge, but it was really, really good because there was just a lot of growth in depth of friendships and depth of discipleship. But then there's also the challenges of trying to be there for family members who are. I mentioned a couple times my little brother. He is an ER doc out in Brooklyn, and so his experience was just like onslaught. And I have an older brother in the military who, when a lot of people got breaks, for him, he was in charge of like his kind of division's COVID response type thing. And so for those brothers and other family members who are medical, just experienced a lot of like getting piled on. And so one of again, kind of a gift in that is what we tried to do as a family is really lean on each other when it came to Zoom. So I have 3 sisters who all live in my hometown where my parents live. And so they see each other daily. They are in each other's lives. They just like really support each other and care for each other. But they didn't see each other in person for months. And because they were just like, no, we have to protect mom and dad. They're at this certain age, blah, blah, blah. Sure. So we did a lot of like, Zoom family calls. And that was, again, a gift.
Whenever we Zoom with my mom, I get the corner of her head and like the ceiling fan. I'm just like, Mom, look at the. Okay,
Yeah.
forget.
Or my parents were holding it down here, kind of like.
Yeah, I get no share. When was the first time you remember thinking about becoming a priest?
The very first time was I was raised Catholic and I didn't really like church. Church was not really a thing, although I thought that, I mean, it was a thing. I just didn't like going. And I thought, yeah, be a good person. When I was 15, I had this encounter with my own brokenness, basically sin. I just was convicted of like, wow, this is like sin is something I do. And I remember going to confession. I remember being so convicted that I went to confession on a Tuesday morning, rode my bike over to the priest's house and like knocked on the door. Never done that before, but I was like, I know where he lives. He can't run from me. And I went to confession. And I remember walking out of that rectory, that church house, priest house, and I remember thinking three things really clearly. My first thought was, God, thank you so much. Like I was dead in my sin and now you've given me life. Like I am so grateful. Like they're gone. My sins are gone. My second thought was, Jesus, if you want me to be a priest, I will hear anyone's confession anytime they ask. And I had never ever thought about being a priest before. That moment, though, I mean, this not in a serious way, but at that moment, I was like, yeah, that would be incredible. That'd be amazing to be able to do. So again, the first thought was, God, I'm so grateful. Second thought, if you want me to be a priest, I will do whatever, hear everyone's confession. And my third thought was, oh, she's really cute, like kind of a. And so that thus began the drama of, what do I do with my life? Lord, tell me.
Is that your favorite part about being a priest? Is it hearing confessions
It's
or
one of
is
them
it
for
confessing the
sure.
Eucharist?
Those two are like massively important and huge. If you had to drill down to like tasks or
Hmm.
like events, moments, yeah, definitely confession, mass, or like offering up the sacrifice, and then preaching would be like some of those three things would be like really things I really really love. I'm so grateful to the Lord that I get to do them. But then I would say, so when I was in seminary, they kept telling us, you're not getting ordained to be like a sacrament dispenser. You're not getting ordained just to like give out the sacraments, to give out
Right.
communion, to give out confession, kind of. And that they, I was like, okay, I get that. We're more should be more than that, but they never gave us an adequate what should it be. And so they would say things like
Okay.
it should be a ministry of presence. You should really be, but that isn't all. That also isn't very clear about like what does that mean. And it wasn't
Right.
until like honestly after I was ordained, maybe for 10 years, that I had a brother priest who he just started talking about this spiritual fatherhood. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, that's it. Like that is the heart of the priesthood is this spiritual fatherhood that does offer the sacrifice of the Eucharist, that does offer healing and reconciliation and confession, that does offer all these things. It does teach, and coach when it comes to preaching and whatnot. But the heart of it is the heart of a father. And I just, when I like took that in more and more and allowed that to shape, especially living on campus. Like I might have told you this, Mark, before, but like a couple of years, bunch of years ago, maybe a few years ago, some of the missionaries started doing this, and so the students did it too. Like just saying, like, "Hey, Dad," I'd walk into a room, "Hey, Dad,"
Hmm.
and we're like, "Oh, hi, good to see you guys,"
Right.
and
Right.
just, but it was all about this reality of spiritual fatherhood that just, if I were to say anything
I get
yeah,
it.
right,
I get it.
anything that's incredible, it's not just the one thing, it's that, and
And
it's,
would
yeah,
would you agree with this statement that the biggest, I mean not the biggest, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, struggles for people is the father wound?
yeah, oh,
That on
absolutely,
some level we all have a father wound, and maybe not all, and that's not fair, but I would say 99% of the
right,
people that I interact with on some level have been either wounded by their earthly fathers, and that may even be a dad who's around.
right,
That might
yeah,
be a dad who's still physically in the house but emotionally not available, or I mean, I think that's a reality, and that's one of the things that I get so excited. Even in a culture, they're like, well, you shouldn't call him father, and you shouldn't. This isn't fair, and why can't I be a priest?
hmm,
There's something very special about having not just a priest but a father in that
yeah,
spiritual role.
yeah. No, I would say almost even greater, like 100% of,
Hmm.
because again, like you said, it doesn't even have to be. I had a bad dad. I know people like I spoke with someone even within the last week who had shared that their dad has loved them so well and continues to love
Hmm.
them so well, and yet they still experience the woundedness when it comes to fatherhood, and not because of anything he did. And not because anything he
Right. You'd
didn't
be a
do,
great dad.
but yeah, exactly. But just this, and so for me, I know as a priest, like even to claim fatherhood is it's humbling and scary because hey, if I'm gonna walk in the door, you're gonna say, hey, Dad. That means that when you need a dad, like someone has to show up, and that person has to be me. Kind of a
Mm-hmm.
situation. And so it's really humbling. It's really scary because it's kind of intimidating to say, okay, Lord, can I do that? I mean, I imagine you had the same experience, Mark, when it came to like your kids. Like, can I do
Oh,
that?
dude, nope, not me. I've had this thing figured out
Oh,
since day one.
so it's
No, I sat in the nursery the first night I was home with my first child, and my wife was sleeping. She deserved it. I mean, because once you watch childbirth, you just get on the ground and kiss the ground. You're like, thank God I'm a man. So she's resting. I'm holding the baby, and all of a sudden, like this tsunami of fear and anxiety came washed over me. I'm like, I'm responsible for
yeah,
this soul too. And Lord, I'm still like a 6 year old emotionally. I'm so immature. I'm like, it was just so overwhelming. It was
yeah,
beautiful,
yeah,
but just wow, what a blessing.
yeah.
Um, I got to move on. I'm gonna start crying. Okay, uh, is there a least favorite part of being a priest? And maybe not. Maybe you like everything, but what's the hardest
No,
part? What's something that people might not understand or know just looking at a priest?
so what I had always thought would be the worst or hardest part would be I thought two things. I thought someone goes to seminary and they like just like a geek factory. You go in normal and you turn not normal, or that you just would be lonely your entire life. That I thought that would be like the biggest challenge. And what I found is there are some things that are just like, for example, if I were to say I really love like preaching, it's also really hard. Like it's a lot of work. Every time. Well, not maybe daily mass. That's like a little bit easier. But like it's a lot of work, and sometimes I'm just like, oh my gosh, Lord, I'm gonna throw up again. I would find myself often the night before, like Sunday mass or whatever, and like in tears. Like, God, what do you want me to say? It's like that kind of thing. But at the same time, it's meaningful work, and so it's still good.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say that one thing that I still will struggle with is so my dad was a physician before we retired, and he would take us to the hospital all the time with him. He'd take us to the clinic all the time, and so I grew up around hospitals and clinics, and so I'm accustomed. Like sickness doesn't bother me in that sense that some people are squeamish around sickness or hospitals, but I still struggle sometimes, and I just want to be just honest.
Mm-hmm.
I struggle sometimes with going to the hospital in those emergency moments because there's so much that's you need to be like fully Christ in those moments, and like I need to leave myself away, but it's intimidating. It's intimidating stepping into people's lives when they're in a crisis mode where
And they're scared and they're wounded
yeah,
and they're panicked and
yeah.
anxious. And, yeah.
And one thing for me too is I've been ordained. I was ordained in '03, and so it's been a bunch of years. But the majority of my assignment has been on a college campus, and so whereas the first 2 years I was in a normal parish, and I did that all the time. I would go to the hospital multiple times a week. It's been 16, going on 16 years that I haven't been in that. And so to get called back in is kind of like, wait, can I do this? Do I know what to do?
Mm-hmm.
And so that can be kind of intimidating. But at the same time, I've also found that God gives the grace for that. But if I were to be honest, it's something that still scares me, something that still intimidates me. And that's why it's one of those, okay, I'm not going there for me. I'm going there for this family or for these people. So, yeah.
Awesome. Okay, a couple more. Um, what advice would you give to a young person when it comes to discerning their vocation? And I want to qualify this because I'm not just speaking about the young guys or the young ladies who are contemplating priesthood or religious life. I'm specifically speaking to teenagers who have never thought about
Mm-hmm.
priesthood, never thought about religious life, are just assuming that they're called to be married. Um, what advice do you give teenagers, like in terms of how to be open to what God's call is and not close
Yeah.
yourself off and not give it a second thought?
Yeah. No, I think so. Years ago, there was a young man. His name is Zach, and Zach I walked with him when he was in college, and then after college he discerned to go into seminary. So he went to seminary, and then he was there for a bit and discerned out, and started dating this gal right away, pretty quickly. And because he thought, well, she's if it's not priesthood, it's clearly her.
Right.
And it wasn't. That was not to be. And so then he was like, okay, wait. So I was a college student, normal college guy, but I went to seminary. That was it. That wasn't it. Then I went to date this girl that's it, and wasn't it. So now what do I do? And we were, as we kept walking with each other and kept talking, he kept praying. One of the things he came to this conclusion, and it was just a grace for him and grace for me that he shared it. He said, I don't know where the Lord's ultimately calling me to be, but I know that whatever vocation he's calling me to be, when I show up, he wants me to be a man of virtue. So if he's calling me to be a husband and father, I need to do that as a man of virtue. If he's calling me to be a priest, I need to be that as a man of virtue. And so right now what I can do is I can cultivate prayer life. Right now I can cultivate a virtuous life. I can cultivate a generous heart right now. And I just like, oh my gosh, because that's the thing, is like, I don't know where you want me to be. But regardless of where the Lord ultimately wants you to be, when you get there, he needs you to be a virtuous woman or a virtuous man. And I say that, like, so prayer and just saying, okay, how do I be generous right now? How do I become wise right now? How do I become courageous right now? So that's what I would say.
Cool. I like that. And last question, I'm going to ask you this because I know people ask me this all the time. Usually it's at an event and you give a talk, there's just a lot of people, and someone will come up to you, inevitably be in line and say, how do I become a Catholic speaker? How do I become a speaker like you? Yeah. What do you respond to those souls?
Yes, it all depends on if I'm feeling sassy or not. Because one of the things, and you and I might have even talked about this before, but I remember there was someone who organizes speakers. He gets speakers from all over the country to come and speak to teens particularly. And one of the things he once said, he said, some of these people on stage, they will fly across the country in order to speak to 1,000 teens, but they won't walk across the street to speak to one teen about Jesus, or speak to one person about Jesus. And so that's the gut check that has to happen every single time, which is if I'm living to present on the stage, then there's something about that could be about me more than it's about Jesus. And the only way I'll ever know if that really is about me more than it is Jesus is I have to ask, so how often am I sharing my life and sharing the gospel with the people who are closest to me? How often am I showing up to prayer, regardless of who's applauding or who's not applauding? And I think the big test there is, am I being rooted in the Lord, or am I just kind of, this looks fun, it looks exciting? I remember Father Larry Richards had come to our diocese to do a men's conference. It was the very first men's conference. The turnout was incredible. It was amazing. The night before, since I was one of the organizers, we took him out to dinner, and he's telling us about his travel, and I was just thinking, I was listening going, wow, looks so exciting. It seems so cool. And it probably is in some ways. But the next day, he got up and he gave great talks. One of them was a talk that I had heard maybe 15 years before this, maybe 10 or 15 years before this. And it was just this really stark reality of like, oh my gosh, this is the same talk that he has been giving every weekend for the last 15 years. Mm-hmm. And so at that moment, you realize that's not about him. That's not about him saying, this is a really great talk, people love it. It's because he's saying this, like, no, this is the men's conference, that this is what you need to hear because this is what the Lord is proclaiming to your heart. And it was just one of those moments of like, it just pulled away the curtain as far as like, what a glamorous, exciting, fulfilling life. And just like, no, this is work. Like to get on a plane at 4 a.m, and he got up at 2 to drive to the airport to do the same talk that he's given 300 times, and to do it because those men in that room needed to hear of God's plan for their lives. And it just was like, oh wow, so this is not romantic, this is not really exotic, this is not any of those things. This is work, and it's the Lord's work.
I wish someone would have told me when I was invited to my first talk like 23 years ago. First time somebody like, can we fly into this event? I mean, it was young, and I think there was a lot of pride there. I was like, this is exciting. You have to fly me, across the country or something. And if I'm looking back, I'm like, yeah, I think it was pride, vanity more than it was like, oh, I want to proclaim Jesus. but yeah, you learn very quickly. It's not. It seems glamorous. It's just
Yeah.
not. I mean, like you're saying, it's like you're off your time zone. You're off
Yep.
your diet. You're sleeping in strange beds. You're huddled in plane seats. The spiritual attack that comes with it. Just the self talk, self judgment. You know what I mean? Like when you start second
Hmm.
guessing yourself, was that a good talk? Was that not a good talk? It's like it'll bring all your insecurities, all your fears, all your pride. I mean, God takes it all to the level. You know what I mean? And it
Yeah.
just smashes your ego into dust.
Yeah.
It's just, and I'm not saying people shouldn't do it, but anytime anybody asks me that, I'm always like, serve where you're planted,
Yeah. And that's
serve in
it.
your parish.
That's it. That's
And
it.
if someone comes to you later and says, "Will you come serve?" Just keep saying yes to God. But just go to your parish and serve.
That's it. That breaks it down. So you pray, you be rooted in the Lord yourself, regardless of whether you go anywhere and people see it. But then, like you said, if I'm in my parish, and hey, would you give a talk to the eighth graders? Sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I care about these eighth graders, these 7 eighth graders that are in this class.
I'll even talk to confirmation kids who don't want to be there. I'm just
Right.
kidding.
And yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
Keep saying yes.
Hey, I've taken so much of your time. We've taken so much time. Thank you for hanging out on this episode
Oh,
of The Mix.
I'm grateful, and hopefully that
I
helps the teams who are watching, and the parents or people who are there. I hope it's helpful for them too.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm really excited for this pandemic to end so we can hang out
Yes.
sooner than later. But what people don't know is that we're the introverts. We're like, we'll say hi to everybody's head,
Right.
and then we go
Just
hide in a corner.
go away.
Hey,
Yeah.
would you lead us in a closing prayer and give us a virtual blessing?
Absolutely. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Father in heaven, I give you praise and glory. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you for the technology that worked. Thank you for the gift of Life Teen. And thank you for the gift of Mark and for his friendship, his brotherhood, support and prayers. We ask that you please, in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, send your Holy Spirit upon all those who were able to watch this and listen to this, that they just may recognize how you work in ordinary human beings, that you want to work in their lives, that you want to work in their heart, that you want to be able to not only use them, but first of all, to love them. Let them know tonight, Father in heaven, that how much you love them, how precious they are in your eyes, and what great plans you have for them in this life and in eternity. Help us to trust in you, Father, in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen. The Lord be with you. And may Almighty God bless you all, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Go in peace.
Well, I hope you had fun getting to know Father Mike a little bit better. That story about the pretzels, by the way, completely true. But anyway, Father Mike, great dude. Pray for him as he's really out there and trying to profess the faith and share the faith in a lot of different ways, a lot of different mediums. Pray for all of our priests. Pray for our Pope, our bishops. Pray for all of our priests, especially your priest at your parish, your priest at your parish. Priests need prayers too. It's not just their job to pray for us. It's our job to pray for them. We hope you had a great time this week. Check out episode 7 next week of The Mix. Until then, praying for you. Peace out.